Hey guys, it's Mr. Glitch here from YouTube. I know I haven't been posting in a while, and that's mostly because I've been caught up in real life. You know what I'm saying? I felt like just showing you guys the run of the place. This is a place that I usually have. How do I describe it? This is my hometown, basically. There's the hotel right there. I've never been there, but always seen it for a lot of years. Coming up right here is, man, I can't tell you how many times I've been around here. Just up ahead is Jefferson Park. I have some fun memories of Jefferson Park, mostly just going swimming there in the summer. Um, one thing I can tell you about my town, guys, is it's very fucking hot here during the summer, like super fucking hot. And Bakersfield is actually a desert, believe it or not. What the hell's going on over there? Anyways, yeah, Bakersfield is basically a desert. And the funny thing about the desert is during the summer it gets extremely hot, but during winter it gets so fucking cold out here, guys. It can get so fucking cold during the winter. And what makes it really suck on that part is, okay, so it's the summer, really fucking hot. You're like, oh my God, I can't wait for the goddamn winter. I want to be cold. Then, out of nowhere, then winter fucking comes on and you're like, oh God, I'm so fucking freezing. I miss the goddamn summer. Bring back the heat. You know, there's just no way to make it better. There's just no good temperature. Except for like the fall. The fall has some really weird days. Like most of the time it's a mix between cold and hot, but sometimes, just a couple of days, you get those not too hot, not too cold days. And trust me, when you live in a desert, that is very fucking rare. But anyways, this is a discount store. I actually used to come around here a lot. Not walk around here per se, but my bus to go to my school would be just right along over there. And the crazy thing about it was I went to Highland High School. Now what's crazy is, even though the school district sent me to Highland High School, even though where I live here on Lincoln actually is closer to east. But the strange thing, and I even had a teacher one time tell me this, strange thing about that is they don't normally have you go there to east for some reason. They just send everyone to Highland, and it just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, to be frank. And see right there, that's the pool to go swimming during the summer. It's closed down right now. But that's the weirdest thing. They just kept all sending us to high school and some shit. Highland High for some shit. And let me tell you about that school. That school was both interesting, crazy, and not great at the same time. Because, like, you would go to, this is basically what happened. First there was orientation, and orientation was a bitch. And that's because I got unlucky and I didn't get partnered up with a girl. Which, trust me, if you had the orientation I went through, you'd really want to. We had to do team trusting exercises for some damn reason. And when you do team exercises that involve you getting into, I don't even want to go into that. But anyways, one thing that was really noticed about my school is the security. You know, Highland wasn't really a bad place. It didn't have gangs or nothing like that. It was a pretty decent school, but they still had security as fuck there. Like a huge amount of security. And those security guys, they were, not all of them were very sane, I gotta say. Like, for example, anybody who ever went to school knows that those really bum-ass times where you have to go to the restroom and it's during class and some shit. Now, my school normally wouldn't let you go out. The teachers weren't letting you supposed to go out for, stuff like that. And they would actually literally have to call security. They'd have to call security to let you go. Yeah, literally. You'd have to go to security. They'd have to call security, and you'd have to wait for security to pick you up for you to go to the restroom. And then the security, they wouldn't even stay with you. You're supposed to not go out unless you were escorted by security, but the security wouldn't even stay. They would just get called up. They'd go in there. They'd wait till you walked out, and they just drove off in their little golf carts and just drove off. Yeah, my school was actually so wide, they actually drove in golf carts all the time. I kind of think it was just because they were too lazy to just walk. But man, and then those weird ass security people, they took over the cafeteria. I don't understand why they did it. They started doing it on my sophomore high school year, man. They removed all the hinges from the door. They set it to where only one entrance to go to. You had to have identification with you just to get into the building, and then you'd have to wait in a long line just to go get your lunch. Which, for a lot of people, unless you had special circumstances like I did, you had to pay for your money, for your food. So it was really fucking stressful and really didn't make a whole lot of sense. But they just literally took that shit over. Then, when I became a junior, when I became a junior and senior, I didn't actually need to go to there anymore because I was part of the RCC program. It was just a really wacky school, dude. And then we had this one place where we'd go for assembly. It was called the hall, but if I asked someone, oh wait, is it called the wall or the hall? They'd either say the hall or the wall or the wall, the hall, the wall. It just didn't. Just trust me, man. It was better not to ask them. It was just so much better not to ask. Because one time you'd hear it, oh, we have to go to the hall, and then we have to go to the wall, and I'm like, what? Which is it? To this day, I was there for 4 years. To this day, I don't know what it's called. But, I don't know. It wasn't a bad school. But one thing was bullshit about this school is this. In California, about the time when I turned into the 3rd grade, they started this no trans fat laws and all that other shit. And basically, they made it to where you could not bring Cheetos, soda, or anything that wasn't FDA school approved to the school. And from the time when I was in the 3rd grade to the time I graduated, that policy was true. If you had any drinks or beverages, they would take them from you. Hell, even Gatorade. They wouldn't let you have Gatorade. It was that bad, guys. Anyways, right here, this is Jefferson Park, right around here. And they were that strict. But when I got in high school, the rules kind of bended a little. Like, you weren't allowed to bring leather jackets, you weren't allowed to have a hat, you weren't allowed to do much of anything, basically. Bring much of anything, basically. But the school had a weird ass fucking way of going around that. You see, they had what was called a student store. And this student store sold you everything you're not supposed to have in a school. Trans fat shit. Yet, as long as you, so even though we're not supposed to have that type of shit, my school would sell it to you as for profit as long as you paid them. That meant you could even wear leather jackets and hats, but as long as you bought them from the school and they had the school's logo. And yet the entire reason we couldn't bring our own was because of possible gang affiliation or gang warfare or some shit. Oh, but we can wear yours as long as it's with your stigma? Yeah, that makes a whole bunch of fucking sense. But you know, man, the student store was actually incredibly crazy. But I'll tell you that in a different vlog. If you guys want to hear the story of the student store, comment on the section down below. Like, comment, subscribe. See you later.